Can alcohol trigger MS symptoms or even an MS flare? Is there a safe amount to drink? Is one alcohol better than another? These questions may be popping up this holiday season when you tend to be around alcohol more often. So, do you sip or skip a holiday beverage? Today's episode isn't just your generic talk about moderation. That's important, but we've already heard that message. Today, I'm sharing research, recommendations, and even some personal stories so you can make an informed decision that works best for you and your health this holiday season. And my fellow MS sisters, if you want a more personalized approach to creating your MS diet and lifestyle, check out my private coaching program. It includes a comprehensive assessment, personalized strategies, and lifestyle support. Each month, I only accept 3 new clients. So if you're interested, apply now at alenebrennan.com/coach. Now on to today's episode. There are 1 million people diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in the U.S. So that makes you 1 in a million. And you have a special purpose in this world that no diagnosis can take away from you. So if you are ready to reclaim your body, mind, and life from multiple sclerosis, welcome to my MS podcast. I'm your host, Alene Brennan. I have to admit, when I was first diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, it never really crossed my mind that alcohol could impact MS. My attention immediately went to food and supplements and managing stress and exercise. It didn't think about alcohol. And maybe it's because I didn't want to create yet another restriction in my life because I have MS. And I'll be honest, I like an occasional glass of wine, a good margarita, or even on a super rare occasion, a lychee teeny. Yes, please, with some good sushi, I am all about it. But the longer I live with MS and I see firsthand all the ways my everyday choices have a direct impact on how I feel, alcohol does start to lose its appeal. But I still want the option to have a drink if I'm out for a date night, a girls' night out, or a holiday party. I think back to how I felt when I was first trying to understand migraines and manage them. I've shared before that I got debilitating migraines since childhood. So when I got of the age where I started to drink, I very quickly realized that alcohol was a big migraine trigger for me. And that was a painful lesson to learn. But let me tell you, it was also one of the fastest lessons I learned because the connection was undeniable. Literally 1 or 2 drinks could trigger a migraine attack. And that's not easy when you're going through college. I would limit my intake because I didn't want to spend the entire week in a dark room, which, let's be honest, there's no such thing as a dark, quiet room when you're living in a college dorm. That's the last place you want to be with a migraine. Plus, I didn't want to have to be missing classes, falling behind in assignments, or even going to the hospital because that would happen too. And again, this is just from 1 or 2 drinks. It would drive me nuts. But it wasn't worth it to me. So I eventually figured out that there were certain alcohols that would affect me more from a migraine perspective than others. I really started to understand that like red wine and beer, they were hard no's for me. But white wine and some cocktails, I was good with them. I mean, in moderation, but I was able to have them. And that's what I wanted from an MS perspective. I wanted to know, are there certain alcohols that are going to affect me more so than the other? And what is my tolerance, so to speak, not from a migraine perspective, but from an MS perspective, because the stakes feel so much higher when it comes to MS. I feel like MS is like this beast that I don't want to wake, right? It's like, we just want to keep it sleeping. Do not wake up, please. Shh. That's what my daughter says all the time. If she sees somebody's eyes closed, whether it's in person or a picture, she'll look over, she'll go, shh, sleepy. That's what I want MS to do. Shh, sleepy. Don't wake up. And if alcohol has the potential to wake MS, I'm not interested until the holiday party rolls around and I want to enjoy a glass of wine. So what's the deal? What's the deal? Does alcohol affect MS? Is it okay to have in moderation? Or does it have the potential to trigger a new symptom or a flare? Let me put it out there. I am not a doctor, nor am I an expert in alcohol. But what I'm sharing with you today is my own personal research. So take it for what it's worth. I hope it resonates. Leave what doesn't, take what does. But I want to share with you because as your fellow MS sister, I'm willing to bet that these are some of the things that are on your mind as well. Because let's keep it real. Like, we want to manage our health. We want to do everything in our power to keep this disease from progressing. But we also want to enjoy life. And I'm not saying that to enjoy life, you have to have alcohol as part of it. That's not the case at all. But if that's something that you want to enjoy on occasion, I want to give myself that freedom. I'll say that. I want to give myself that freedom to have the option if and when I choose to have a drink. I just want to know if I'm doing it safely and that I'm not unknowingly causing any further damage from a health perspective. So, is there a link between alcohol and multiple sclerosis? And how exactly does alcohol affect MS? Well, here's a shocker. The relationship between alcohol and multiple sclerosis isn't fully understood. What is understood about MS? I feel like living with multiple sclerosis can feel like one big mystery box. You never know what's inside until you open it up. So some research suggests that alcohol can temporarily worsen symptoms, while other studies suggest alcohol can actually calm an overactive immune system, potentially easing certain aspects of MS. I read that, I'm like, what? Alcohol can ease certain aspects of MS? Well, apparently, out of 30 papers published between 1983 and 2016, results of alcohol and MS were either inconclusive or inconsistent. Basically, some showed positive associations while others showed negative associations. So I'm going to do a quick rundown of their pros and cons list. And then I want to share with you my own personal take on it, as well as what the Well's protocol says about alcohol. First, let's go into this pros and cons list. Do you want the good news or the bad news first? Personally, I always want the bad news first. I like ending on a high note. So let's start there. What are some potential concerns that alcohol can raise with MS? First, research suggests that one drink could temporarily worsen symptoms, specifically coordination and balance issues. And thinking about it, I mean, it makes sense. Alcohol can throw off your balance, MS or not. So if that's something you're already prone to, alcohol could only heighten that. And then when I think about that of like, okay, what are some of the symptoms that I already experience that could also be heightened from alcohol? And personally, I think of being tired and not as mentally sharp when you drink. And that's definitely something that we're already all too familiar with when it comes to MS. Hello, MS brain fog and fatigue. Like, hello. So if alcohol can only make that worse, I don't know. It just kind of loses its appeal because it seems like I want to do things that are going to help alleviate symptoms for me. I don't want something that's going to pull me down even further. That said, I try to focus on the upside of things. Like, I'm not restricting myself from having a glass of wine. I'm choosing not to drink. That feels very different when I say I'm choosing not to drink, because I know that these decisions add up. And they're either keeping me fatigued or they're helping me to get out of the fatigue. So I want to choose things that are stacking the odds in my favor. And obviously, this is going to be more relevant based on how I'm feeling at that moment. So if I've been, again, experiencing a lot of fatigue recently, I'm not going to be as excited to have a glass of wine. But then if I have been feeling well, like from an energy perspective, digestion perspective, migraine perspective, just all of it, if I've been feeling good in my body, I'm going to have a little bit more confidence having that glass of wine. I say wine, like that just tends to be my go-to. The other thing is that alcohol can also increase urinary frequency and urgency. Again, MS or not, but this is something that we are often all too familiar with from an MS perspective. We're constantly running to the bathroom. We don't need anything that's going to instigate that any further. So I think of what are some of your existing symptoms that you deal with because of MS? And are they ones that could also be associated